My name is the nation's worshiper. You can call me Brother Sammy. Yeah. And what I want to ask is, he said it's I'm in please, did you hear Chi? You heard? So what I want to say is, let me speak English. Mine is, I just want to beg for something because I know you are coming. It is possible you are coming. India, I know you are coming.
He's already there.
When God retired, so and to phone you know, and the best lesson can we try a Bawumia tour. So we do go to them through age way, and now you move it through age way, or they do age way. Can be a man to be able say, and I be trusted to a pension pay at least. Obi area Oma Bonti MS Wrestling and saying we saw that you go to your support and do him adoye. So the way we trap a Bawumia to home. Yeah, we are 70 years, 60 years, be a man, you say, and I be trap Bawumia. I think at least it can help. Shatta, I hope you agree with me. God bless you.
Okay, Your Excellency, as a musical president, we've already submitted our proposals, and today you have addressed many of them, which I'm really pleased. I'm also looking forward to the end of analog music in Ghana, because when I was doing my sound engineering, we were the last batch that moved from analog to fully digital. And these days, we can see so many musicians selling CDs and pen drives and things. So I'm looking forward to 31st, where we're going to launch an IT solution that is going to take Ghana into fully digital royalties and everything monitoring system that is going to come into Ghana. And I know that is going to change a whole lot of things. And gone will be the days that if your music is not being used, if they are not playing your music, you just go and collect royalties. No, it will be, when your music is used, it will be calculated. You know how much you're going to get even before your royalty sets in. And I'm looking forward to 31st the launching. I will encourage everybody, Shatta, Sammy, to come in there and also contribute with your beautiful ideas so that in Ghana, this is going to be for Ghanaians, made in Ghana. And it's just like anywhere in the world, and it's going to help. But my last one is, as doctors, they bring in instruments and they exempt it from paying tax. In case God permits you to become the president, to try and make sure that when we bring in instruments that we use to ply our trade, we be exempted from paying tax. Thank you very much.
Please let's take the responses that will come back. Thank you.
Security services, we've not been touting. I mean, this is, you're right. I mean, we've really equipped the security service in a very major way, very major. I think across the army, the navy, the police, it's just been massive improvement. And maybe we should tell more of that story. Data collection amongst the creative. I mean, data is what moves the world now. And if you don't have data, this you cannot measure. And if you cannot measure, how can you improve? You can't improve anything you cannot measure. And this is how I started when I was speaking to you, that when you look at the industry, it's a major growth pool for any country. And especially for us, I think that the talent pool is so much. And it's just a shame that historically, we haven't paid as much attention to this industry as stated in our manifesto, that we're going to increase very significantly the public investment in the creative arts sector so that we can reap the benefit. Without investing, you cannot get any benefits. And so I think the other countries which have invested, in their artists like Rihanna and so on, we can take a leaf from them. But where I agree with you wholeheartedly also is that the talent that we have it cannot be replicated outside. It's ours, so that is what we should market, and there's no competition for that talent in that sense. So it gives us a comparative advantage that others don't have. So I'm fully in agreement with you. Brother Sammy also talked about pensions for artists as they grow older, and this is where I'm saying that if we don't make sure artists have the revenues that are due them, the royalties that are due them, then they will end up being poor. That if we implement these new platforms, as the president for music was saying, if we implement login platforms and everything, and Gamro gets all these revenues and so on, the royalties for the artists, then you are able to contribute to your own pensions under the Tier 2 pension plan, and you won't depend on anybody. So let's get the money for the artists and the musicians and the actors, and I think we will take care of that. And I'm also very much looking forward to the end of analog. Let's go digital. And that is really something that we should look at it. With tax incentives, I've already mentioned in our manifesto that we will have to give tax incentives. That is part of the investment in the industry, so we can sit with you to look at some of these incentives.
Like the School of Performing Arts in Legon, University of Education, do you have plans for those schools or schools that are already into the arts, and to probably renovating them or bringing them up to the state of the art? And then my second question is, what are the timelines for the sake of accountability? If it is for the schools, is it going to be in your first 100 days in office or in your first year in office? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think at this time, please, this is the final one. His Excellency will wrap up all the questions for us. Please rise.
Thank you very much, Miracle. His Excellency, I bring you greetings from the incoming President, Her Excellency My name is Roman Fava. I think FM and November 106.9, and the running mate for Ghana Freedom Party. Yes, yeah. Mr. President, in case we don't win, and we win, please remember us in paradise. Remember us in paradise. In case we don't win and we win. My question is very simple. Please, I'm on the floor. Future incoming president on the floor. Incoming vice president, please. Yeah, so His Excellency, in case we don't win and you win, remember us in paradise. My question is very simple. What is your government going to do to leverage upon the employment potential of the sector? Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much for all those questions. And I think there are a lot of good suggestions as well. As I said, I wanted to also listen and take some good advice. Lawrence started with the absence of a national gallery of arts. As we see, many jurisdictions have national galleries of art. So if Ghana doesn't have one and we want to promote the arts, at the same time promote tourism, there's a good nexus between these two, and I will very much support the creation of a national gallery of arts. I very much support that. The issue of tourism clubs and in terms of the youth, Joseph Amati raised it. I'm very much also supportive of that, so that we can support the tourism clubs and the development of tourism. The funding, I think it was Piako who raised this issue of funding for the arts, and you're very right. If you look at the funding, some of the funding has to be grant funding, because otherwise you are not yet in a position to actually be paying back a loan when your particular craft has not yet manifested in revenues. So it doesn't make sense. So if we are going, and this is why I said that we need, significant public funding in the arts if we are going to take it seriously. If it's going to be a growth pole, and so we need to put in funding and make sure some of it is in grant funding. Of course, when there is revenue coming in, you can always get bank funding for various projects through the Development Bank Ghana that I talked about and so on. So I'm also with you. And also, you've made a very important point about getting the populace to think creatively. If we are to take the creative arts seriously and not something that is a second thought in that sense. So I'm with you on that. And then also that has fed into our lack of cultural attaches in the various embassies, because generally we haven't taken this sector seriously. It's only when we take it seriously that we will know that in fact a cultural attaché can really help us in various countries drum home the business, drum home tourism, and so on. So I think that is a very good point as well. Helen made the point about in the context of classification, and many of what they are classifying is foreign, which is a big shame in that regard. And then, when we look at some of the streamlining, the streaming that we talked about, and so on, and the Gamro royalty platform that we are talking about, it all applies both to film and to music. It's not just music. So I think we have to also consider the filmmakers. Sustainable fashion, a national recycling system is an excellent idea because of the environment, and bringing back the Friday wear is also a good idea. The Foster Romanos talked about the resourced schools. As we are thinking of building new schools, how about the schools that are not adequately resourced? And that is why I say that when we prioritize the arts and the creative arts and tourism and so on, then you will have to put the budget behind all of it. But if you don't prioritize it, you'll get a lot of these and the funding. And I'm hoping that we are going to definitely put the budgets behind these to resource some of this, like the School of Performing Arts and so on. So we will do so. Our incoming running mate, who Roman father, right? So we will remember you for sure. But I think that what you ended on a very good note talking about the employment potential of this industry. Look, this is when you take the creative arts and tourism. This is where you can create the most jobs. It's very clear. And so, again, if we invest properly in this sector, the creative arts and tourism will get a lot of jobs created. And this is why we have to finish all these theaters that we are talking about. We have to do the streaming, we have to do all the investment. But as I keep saying, I believe that, $100 million, $200 million invested in the creative arts industry really can yield us billions in terms of wealth. So I want us to invest in this sector. I'm committed that I'm going to champion.
Around you, what do you see? You see tables and chairs arranged. You see lighting, you see LEDs, you see backdrop. Without us, there's no event. We are event leaders in the city of Ghana. Mr. President, please, if you are voted into power and you become the next president of Ghana, we have just 3 questions. Just 3 very short ones. What policies can your government put in place to recognize our contribution? Because without us, there's no events. What can you provide to support our resources? For instance, we try very hard, save, and then we ship things from China. We go sometimes by ourselves to get the things down. But when the things get to the port, the bills or the charges at the port is too much. Now we can't even sell it. Now you can't when they want home. Again, so we are pleading, please, we are here this evening as event flat rates, as Event Leaders Association of Ghana. Are we not here? Yes. So please, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Visualize.
All right. Good evening and all protocol duly observed. My name is Isaac Ambodaza.
Bishop, please listen to others who also listen to you.
So my name is Isaac Akwadazaba. Everyone called me Genesis. I'm a stand-up comedian and the General Secretary for Ghana Comedian Association. So we were having a conversation among ourselves about the theaters and all of that, and we've seen some footages of what is going on. So we are hoping that those venues will be available so we can, take our trade across the region. But one key areas that we are having issue with is a tax on our comedy shows. Most of our shows are almost free ticket. We give out almost about 80 to 85% free ticket, and then the GRA begin to chase us for tax for a show we did not even make money on after investing a lot of time writing and all of that. So we are asking Mr. Vice President and hopefully incoming president, what would be your contribution to the comedy industry, and how do you address the taxing issues on our intellectual properties? Thank you.
Thank you. Taxing for
Alliance for Change, we decided to engage Gambro to find out what was happening with Gambro. So when we engaged them, there were a few things that we found out. Now, one was that we found out certain monies that were being paid to board members were even higher than monies being paid to musicians. Now, when we asked them, they said they are not a CMO. They are not operating as a CMO. So we wrote letters to the Attorney General's department. We never had any reply whatsoever. So all I'm saying is that since you said you started engaging Gambro, I want to say that it is not about just fixing Gambro and moving on. Gambro needs to be probed. It needs to be probed because there are people at Gambro who claim this government is incompetent. And so for people like that who are manning Gambro and causing all this embezzlement, it needs to be probed. That is one. Now, my second issue is with Ghanaian content. As a Ghanaian kid in every home, the day a stranger comes to the house is the day, the big meat is served to the stranger. The Pirates bowl that has never been used is used to serve the stranger. So as a kid, you are being oriented that a stranger is important than you. And this has grown with us to the point that Ghanaians accept foreign stuff more than Ghanaians. So our biggest artists in Ghana here are always competing. The biggest artist in Ghana's song will be competing with a foreign song in his own land. So like when 30 December, I had a friend from America who asked me, this artist must have a lot of money. And that song that was being played, she was hearing it everywhere, was not even a Ghanaian song. So how do we prioritize Ghanaian content? Today, we see TV stations who would pick some soap opera from Mexico or soap opera from India and do a talk over it and put all to them at home. So how do we prioritize Ghanaian content? How do we prioritize Ghana? Thank you.
So Excellency will take give the response and then we'll get back for the last round.
Thank you. Thank you of the Copyright Act that and the regulations, and that we need to keep updating, being there. And I think that the issue of setting up of a login at the NCA for both the film and music, of course, makes a lot of sense that we can look at the LI for Act 935, which is not yet been, put on the table. And I'm going to ask when I get back what is holding this. I think it's very, very important. I think once that LI is put on the table, it cures some of the issues that you're going to raise and allows us to move from just the film industry into a film economy, as you have put it. So I'm quite with you on that. The issue Tilly also raised was let's make sure we appoint ministers who understand the industry. I think that is very, very important. And there's no point in putting people. I mean, we have a lot of work to do. We've got major transformation to make. So if you go and put somebody in charge of a sector that they don't really understand the sector, then there's a problem. Right off the bat, you will make your work 10 times more difficult in that. So I think Tilly's point is makes a lot of sense. Then George also raised the issue of policies and laws which have been passed, but the allies to back them and to make them effective have not been done, like the Creative Arts Agency, the Broadcast Bill. We'll see about how we can put them through. I think the LI has to be laid for 21 days or so to mature. So we'll have to see how we can get it done in this sitting. Then the whole issue of lack of seed money for the university. And I think that I will have to take that with the Minister for Finance to find out exactly why the seed money has not yet gone. You've invited me to come and see this monster, and I'm close by, so I will be happy because what you're saying basically is that we could save a lot of money by rather completing that starting something new, and I think it's also well put. Shadrach also is asking about for events, what sort of policies are we going to implement to do that? I think that for the things that you are importing, one of the key areas that we are reforming is the tax regime at the port. And we're going to move towards a flat tax regime to simplify the tax regime at the port. So that it's very simple for everybody. And we have said as a matter of policy that Ghana's taxes on any goods cannot be higher than Togo's taxes, since we are competing ports. And that is one of the things we are going to do. Isaac also touches on the tax issue, and this is where I believe the flat tax issue works, because it's a tax on your profits, and if you make zero profits, you pay zero tax. It's very, very simple, and that is why I believe that currently the system is complicated, and when you don't even make money, GRA wants you to pay money, and that is where the problem is, so we want to take that matter out so that we have a very clear thing. Now the issue of Gambro that was raised, I think the Attorney General will have to look at it since it's under his purview. Ghanaian content, how do we prioritize? I think it's a very important point beyond even just the arts. It's countrywide. It's really the whole issue of Ghanaian content nationwide. I have a policy that I am focusing on, which is the Buy Ghana First policy, which is going to be backed by law that says that for the most part, when we are buying as government, and government procurement is very significant, very, very significant. The law will say we should buy Ghana first. Unless the good is not here, let us encourage our industries, let us create the jobs here. And so I think that whole issue of trying to encourage more Ghanaian content across, we should try and do exactly that. So I'm very much in support of any initiatives that we can use to see more Ghanaian content in the arts on our streets and so on. Miracles.